Okay, guys, so the most important part of my poetry pieces, even before I perform them, is the planning phase. And the planning phase can be one of the phases that will test you in, whatever it is that you're wanting to create, because this is when the idea is in its infancy. So the first thing I'll obviously do, because nowadays I do poetry pieces with backing tracks. So I'll find the backing track, and as you can see here, I've got a breakdown of the track, and what happens for each section that I want to touch on. And I also take notes of changes. There's a change in tempo or a change in the music. That also helps create the atmosphere for what I want to do. And with this piece, it really challenged me, because I wanted to do something outside the box. The first thing I did was I had five mothers, right? I interviewed five mothers. I just asked them a few questions about them in raising their kids, just to give me a perspective, because I'm not a mother and I'm speaking from the perspective of a son. And also, just to add, I lost my mother during COVID. It was on Christmas Day 2020. And it was a difficult and challenging year for me. And what brought this poem about was that I was asked to do this for Mother's Day item at my church. And so I went into thinking, okay, the one thing that I can say is, I've spent years with my mom, and she's been a great influence to me, and so I wanted to just write something, that will make all moms out there feel appreciated. So now, when you get here to this part now, this is like coming towards the end. Uh, this is what I had planned to write for my punchline. Each piece I tried to at least have a punchline at the end. So here are my topics I wrote down. So I did some research. Pregnancy usually happens when you got two lines on the pregnancy test. So I said, okay, I can use that as an opening line. And then obviously about birth, the journey of motherhood, the challenges that arise in relationships, because mothers are, like, before they're mothers, they are women. They have their own lives. And so there's a journey to motherhood, one of the things I wanted to emphasize on. And then even mothers need mothers. That was one thing that I had received from the interviews that I did, was mothers couldn't do it out themselves. They need other mothers to share their experience as well. It also comes to your faithfulness to God, and the journey continues. Now, I wanted to add in this element to the Mother's Council, being the different types of mothers, which is the widow, the single mother, married, divorcee, mothers that have been divorced. And I wanted to get a little bit of encouragement to those out there. And this is just like a completely rough copy of the original piece. So what I had done was, for each of these sections of here, I just wrote down what was in my mind at the time with what I wanted to write down. So I would basically understand this, like my thought process, and then sooner or later I would go back to it and start, editing each word. Because what happened was, for example, I was just writing down points, just to keep with time. And with this piece, I completed it a day before I actually performed it. And I never performed it once, I performed it three times on three different campuses at our church. And yeah, the pressure was really on, because I had left this thing for last minute, and so I had an idea of how I was going to end and stuff. But then come here, this is now the start of the piece that I performed. So as you can see now, it's a bit more structured out. So coming to what I said about the pregnancy. So this marked day one, when that pregnancy test showed two lines indicating a new life. No pun intended, but things are about to change, And so I used my plan, my points, to start structuring and journeying out every single thing that I wanted to do and write. And so just continuing with the theme and also keeping the music in mind, just allowed my creativity to do its work. and just whatever was coming to my mind at the time I was writing, to also put a few things into perspective with the poetry and stuff. And so the last point I wanted to add was for those that lost their mothers. So I said, for all who've lost their mothers, take heart in this day. I stand as a testimony that the Lord heals the pain. In my life, I find joy in the seeds that she planted. To all who have their mothers, please don't take them for granted. Happy Mother's Day. And that was basically how I wanted to end that piece. And so this is just the writing phase, and there's also a delivery phase where I'll begin to start learning my words and think how to do it in delivery form, how I would deliver them to an audience, the stresses that I want to make on certain words. Like, for example, there is one section in this piece in particular where I'm just trying to find it here. Oh, it was around here. When I'm talking about single mothers, sometimes there are cases where the father would just send money only. So here I was saying, that the mother's emphasizing on the child's need to spend time with their fathers, because the child needs more than a paycheck and more time with their fathers. And then what I added in here, which is not here, but I did include it in a later edited piece, where I said, more than a paycheck, listen, your actions show less love and more hate, because all the times you disappointed, I had to step in and I had to mend the heartache. And I've seen this, times where children are just about to go see their father and the mother's about to send him off, and then the father will call to say there's a change of plans, and now it's the mother's responsibility now to bring about some comfort to the child. So that was one thing that I did add in this piece. And so, yeah, I just wanted to just show you guys that, when it comes to writing a piece, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of thinking involved. Most of you guys will only see the finished product of what is done, but on the day one journey, this is actually what you will be looking at. You'll be looking at something like this, where I'll pick my subtopics that I want to include in the piece, and, let the creativity take off from there. I'm trying not to make this video as too long. This is just to give you guys an idea of what goes into writing a poetry piece.